As we think about creating the baseboards for our walls here, we're also going to need to think about creating the doors. If we go back over to this reference image, we can see the baseboard kind of flows into the frame around the doors. And I think I want to go ahead and do that. So before we work on the baseboards, let's work on the doors. If we look out on the internet here, out on Google, I've searched standard door dimensions. Here in the United States, we've got standard door size of 80 inches by 36 inches, or about 6 feet 8 by 3 feet. So I think I want to go for something about that. Now it also says that 8 feet now is very common in newer homes. I don't think this is going to be a newer build. This is kind of an old rundown apartment. So I think I'll go with the 6'8", maybe even 7 feet for the doors, and 3 feet wide for the width. So let's work on that. I think I'll go to a new layer here and just create a cube. I'll go to the Create tab and click on Cube. And now it popped in here over where the cursor was. I don't want that. I'm going to undo this with Control or Command Z. I'm going to press Shift C, and that will pop the 3D cursor into the center of the grid. Now I'll come back over here and create a cube. And let's hit the N key and take a look at the dimensions of our cube. Now remember over here in the scene panel, we've got our units of measure. We're currently using metric, but temporarily, since I know this door is going to be 7 feet by 3 feet wide, I'm going to click Imperial and switch over to that. So now I can see that the Z-axis here is 6 feet, so I'll go ahead and just type 7 into here, and that will make this 7 feet tall. And then I think I'll use the X-axis here. The X-axis, let's make 3 feet wide. There we go. Now I can press S and Y and scale in the Y-axis just a little bit. But ultimately, this is going to be the width and height of our door. Now if I go back to the metric system here, you can see it's done the conversions for us in terms of meters and centimeters. So now I want to bring this up so it's sitting on the floor. I'm going to hit the 1 key and then the 5 key on the numpad, and I'll just bring this up until it sits on the grid right about there. Now if I go back to my imperial units of measure, I can see that I'm here at 3.5 feet, which is half of 7. I'll go ahead and clean up that by just typing in 3.5. And now I know that that's sitting squarely or flat on the grid, on the floor there. All right, so now that we know that this is our door size, I'm going to hit the 5 key to go back to perspective. We can bring back everything else in our room and take a look at where we're going to put our doors. So I think maybe the beginning is going to be right over here. We're going to have that front door come in right about here, let's say. Now that we know how big and wide that's going to be, I can select the wall, tab into edit mode, and I will go ahead and press Control R and begin putting some edge loops right where the door is going to be. Control R, here's the top of the door, Control R, and here's this side of the door. So I can begin to put these edges right where the door is going to be. Now that looks good. That looks good. Okay. So now we know that that's going to be the size of the door. I'm going to tab back into object mode so I can select just this. This is on the 3rd layer, so I'm going to press Shift and click to hide that. Now if we tab back into edit mode here, I can go to face mode and select these faces and get rid of these. So I'll hit X and faces. I also want to get rid of this one here. And there is our door. Now to create the door jamb, let's do something a little tricky here. I want to go to edge mode, so I'll press Control Tab and the 2 key to go to edge mode. And I want to select this edge all the way around. Except I don't want these down here. I'll deselect these down here. Now I'm going to bridge these 2 edge loops. So to do that, I can press Control E to go to the Edges menu, and then come down here and go to Bridge Edge Loops. And that will just create a face between each of the edges. All right, so now we have that. That's the inside of the door jamb. Let's split this out, and then we can extrude it out to make the door jamb extend out over the wall here. So to do that, I'll press the P key and then choose to separate this out by the selection. Click that. Now if I tab back into object mode, this right here is its own object now. So I can scale this out a bit in the y-axis to extend it beyond the wall just a hair. So I'll press S and Y and scale that out just a little, about like that. Now I want to extrude these edges out. Now I don't really care too much about the outside, but if you did, we can go ahead and work on that too. So we'll just do that all at the same time. I'll tab back into edit mode and I'll select all of these edges once again by pressing Alt and click on an edge, and then Shift Alt and click on an edge, and that selects these two edges on the inside and the outside of the room. I'll then hit E to extrude and then click, and now I'm going to scale just in the x-axis, SX, and now that moves these out a bit like so. And then I'll deselect these, shift-click these, shift-click these to deselect. Now, theoretically, these edges are still selected up here, so I can just click and drag in the z-axis and pull those up. So there we have the door jamb around the front door. Now I can select these edges again, Alt-click, Shift-Alt-click, so we select all of those. And then we extrude again, hit the E key and click, and now I want to scale in the Y-axis to bring it back to the wall. So I'll press S and then Y, and now we scale it back in to the wall right there. All right, so there is the front door jamb. Let's go do that to the other wall over here. So over here on this side of the room, we need two doors, one kind of at each corner here. So I'll bring back that door template. Where is it? There it is. And take that over here and maybe put it right in line with the front door perhaps, maybe right there. I'll center it up with the period key on the numpad, select that wall, tab into edit mode, and then let's put a few edges here as well around the door. And let's choose these faces and get rid of these. And now, since I have this door jamb created for this door size, why not just take this, since it's its own object, and drag it right on over there? Now, the pivot point, or the center of the object, is right over here. I'm going to move it to the geometry so it's kind of centered up within that door. To do that, I'll come over here to the Tools tab, and we can use this Set Origin pull down, and I'll click that and choose Origin to Geometry. And that moves that into the center there. Now I can just hit Shift-D, click, and then click on the Y-axis here and just drag it right over. Let me hit the period key, and I'll put this kind of right in here. There we go. All right, let's do that one more time. Over on this side, move it over here. Let's try it right about, I don't know, right about there, let's say. And I'll block it out with some edges here. I already have the edge for the top of the door. Now let's get rid of that, turn off the layer for the door template, and let's remove these again. All right, and let's just move the door jamb right over there. Let's go ahead and add the baseboards to the walls now that we have the doors in place. Let's begin with this one over here. I'm going to press Control R and add an edge right about here. And once I do, now I'm going to press the 3 key and the 5 key and the Z key. And let's take a look at this in wireframe. I'm also going to press the N key to give myself a little bit more room now. It looks like I need the 1 key. I'll press the 1 key to come over to this side. Now once again, I'm going to click and drag with the Z-axis, but then I'm going to hold that Shift key down so I can move it a little slower and get it right where I want it. So maybe something like that. Yeah, something like that. Now let me do that over here as well. Move that down to about where I want it, right about there. All right. So now we have the size or location of the baseboard in place here. We just need to use this edge to create them on the other walls as well. So if we tab back into object mode and select this wall and then go to 1 and the 5 key and the Z key for wireframe, we can see that we can't see that baseboard. Why is that? Well, it's because our display settings isn't letting us see all of our edges in object mode. If I tab into edit mode for this wall, I still can't see the edges for that other wall because it's a whole other object. So do we need to combine those walls together? No, we can just play with the display settings of our objects so we can see that edge. So if I tumble out of this and just select that wall again, I can come over to the object settings here, and down here under wire and draw all edges, we can turn these on so we can see the edges. So now that we've turned on draw all edges, I can come back, hit the 1 key, and now you can see we can see that edge even though that other object is in object mode. All right, so let me select this wall here, hit that 1 key, tab into edit mode, and now we've got a reference here of how big the baseboard should be. So I'll press Control R and click and then bring this down right about there. And same thing over here, Control R, and let's do that again right over here. All right, so now we have our baseboards there. We just need to put them over here as well. Now I can go ahead and turn on wire and draw edges over here. And then I'll hit the 3 key, the Z key, tab into edit mode, and we can see the height of the baseboard and on each of the other walls here. I'll press Control R and just add an edge right there. Now I just need it one more time on this wall back here. 3 key, tab, and one more time. So in the next video, what we need to do is go ahead and UV map the walls, UV map the door jambs, and then begin thinking about our textures and taking it into Unity.